How's it going, everybody? My name's Eric, and in this video, we're gonna talk about printers. We're gonna talk about inkjet printers. We're gonna talk about laser printers, and we're gonna talk about thermal printers. Not all printers are created equally. Not even all printers within the three main types of printers are created equally. You really wanna buy something off of what you are gonna be using it for, what function, for your home use or for your small business. And hopefully this video can help provide some information and guide you a little bit more towards a purchasing decision that you're going to be happy with and that you're going to be proud of for years to come. So we will be going over the three main types of printers: inkjet printers versus laser jet printers versus thermal printers. We're gonna go over some pros and cons. I'm gonna show you some examples and some things to maybe think about before you purchase a printer. There is an index in the description if you want to skip to a different part of the video and not have to watch the whole thing through. But I do appreciate your time and everyone tuning in. If you haven't already, please give the video a thumbs up. If you aren't already subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing. And with that being said, let's get into the first printer we're going to be taking a look at, the inkjet printer. The pros with inkjet printers are that they're generally pretty cheap. They can print in color, they can print in black and white. Usually they're very flexible when it comes to networking them or hooking them up wirelessly. You could print from multiple devices, you can print from phones, you can print from tablets. Because they're backed by the big printer companies that build the drivers, make them very flexible with printing from different devices. There's inkjets that contain flatbed scanners, there's inkjet printers that contain document scanners, fax machines. There's inkjet printers that use cartridges, and then there's also these newer type of inkjet printers that are called Inktank printers. Instead of using an ink cartridge, it uses a tank. And what do you know? I have an Inktank printer right here to show you guys. We're gonna go over this after I get done talking about the cons. Some of the cons with inkjet printers are the cost of ink cartridges. People complain about this. They're very inefficient. Your cost per print and per page is a lot higher. The ink cartridges themselves, if you throw them away, it creates waste. The cartridges aren't very cheap, and they also don't print a lot of pages. Usually it's just a couple hundred pages before you're out of an ink cartridge and you have to buy another one. A lot of times the ink cartridges will be chipped, and those chips will prematurely stop the printer from printing because the printer thinks that it's out of ink based off of a chip that's in the ink cartridge, which is actually kind of shady. The companies just want you to have to buy more ink, and it can render your printer useless. Another thing about inkjet printers is there's little nozzles, micro nozzles. Print head prints on the paper, and those nozzles can get clogged if you don't use your printer very often. Once those nozzles are clogged, either you'll have to run a nozzle cleaning routine on your printer in the presets, or you'll have to clean the nozzles yourself, or the printer can be rendered useless because the nozzles are clogged and no one's gonna unclog them because they're just clogged. The new Inktank printers are a lot more efficient when it comes to cost per page because instead of having a little cartridge, you actually have an entire tank. This is a Canon G4 210. As you can see right here, there are actual compartments. Instead of putting in a cartridge, you literally take a bottle of ink and you put it in there. It holds more ink, the ink is cheaper to replace, and once you fill your ink, you don't throw away cartridges. Unfortunately, with the Inktank printers, they are a higher upfront cost, although if you're doing a lot of printing, then that would offset the cost at some point down the road, because it's cheaper to do the tank refills than it is to buy cartridges. Another con, I guess it can be considered a con with inkjet printers, are they print slower than the other types of printers, the way that they're designed. If that is an important factor to your business, then that is something to consider. An inkjet printer can print shipping labels, it can print color documents, it can print black and white documents. They normally have built-in scanners, so if you need something with a scanner, then that is something to think about. If you're copying pages out of a book or something, you're going to need a flatbed option. If you're doing copies of stacks of paper, you're going to want this document style to copy or to scan. If you need a fax machine, there are a lot of inkjet printers that come with fax machines. Most of your manufacturers such as Canon, Epson, Brother, HP, all of those are going to have so much engineering power behind them. They are supported for years and years. They are updated if Windows or Mac has an update or Android or iOS has an update. They are usually supported for many, many years which you could say that's a pro as well. An inkjet printer is going to run you from under $100, depending on the model, upwards of about $200 is your starting point for your ink tanks. Some of the more fluffy feature ink tanks can run up to $400 to $500 as well. Get pretty pricey, but if it's what you need for your business, then it's what you need for your business. I hope you enjoyed the first type of printer, the inkjet printer, well, the Inktank inkjet printer, and now we're going to go on to a laser printer or a laser jet printer. Laser printers are the printers you're going to find in most offices, small businesses, hotels. If you need to get a black and white document printed quickly, that's usually what you're gonna be going for. The printing mechanism is actually completely different than inkjet. It doesn't use any liquid. It's a common misconception that laser printers use ink. They don't, they use toner. It's a dry powder. It's actually little itty bitty tiny plastic particles that they use charges and electricity and lasers to charge a roller and transmit an image of fine powder that gets basically fused onto the paper, melted into the paper, and that's why those pieces of paper come out nice and warm. Laser printers are great. They're very, very efficient. They're extremely reliable. The cost per print is usually pretty low. So what are the pros of the laser printers? As I mentioned earlier, they print very fast. They're very reliable. They could sit for over a year and be turned on and work perfectly fine. There's no little nozzles to clog or to jam or gunk up. It's all dry powder inside of the toner cartridge. Their strong point is black and white documents for the most part. They call them monochrome, just meaning that it's a black and white grayscale type of printer. They do make color laser printers, but that again is just for color documents, not so much for photos. If you want to specifically print photos, you would want to get an inkjet or you'd want to get a specific photo printer. But we're not going over photo printers in this video, sorry. Another pro with laser printers is they are pretty dang affordable. When you get to the lower end, they can be had for under $100 or just a little bit over $100. You can print from most of the modern laser printers with an iPhone, with an Android, with a tablet. They're wirelessly networkable. A lot of them are also Ethernet networkable. You can print from multiple devices. Lots of flexible printing options with them. Usually have a very high media capacity, meaning you can fit a half a ream of paper or a ream of paper in it, depending on how big the paper tray is. They're very customizable with multiple paper trays. Depending on the model, you can have 2 different paper trays with 2 different sizes of paper or 2 different colors of paper if you need that at your office. And kind of like the inkjet printers, they come with all these other added options with scanners, fax machines, flatbed scanners, copying abilities, the same kind of flexible home office tools that we saw earlier in the inkjet portion of the video. And a very important pro is the efficiency. The cost per print is a lot lower for a black and white document on a monochrome laser printer than it would be on an inkjet printer. I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head. I'm actually gonna have to sit down, do a calculation, and come out with some sort of cost analysis video in the future. So stay tuned for that. The technology in laser printers is very reliable. They're made for a high print load. They're made for offices that are constantly printing documents, hundreds of thousands of documents to go through these printers, problem-free, or maybe a jam here and there, but that's gonna happen with any printer. Some of the cons with laser printers are the initial purchase price is a little bit more expensive than inkjet, and you're only gonna get black and white for that initial purchase price. You're not gonna be getting a color laser jet printer. And if you end up getting a color laser jet printer, you're not gonna be printing pictures. You're just kind of gonna be printing documents. It's not really made for printing pictures. You could print nice charts for a presentation or an office or a report or something, pie charts that are colored, but pictures photos and pictures just don't really print that well on laser jet printers. The colored laser jet printers are really expensive. Those are going to be in the hundreds of dollar range. And then you have the added cost of different color cartridges. When you have to replace a colored cartridge, it's a little bit more expensive than it would if it was just a black cartridge. If you don't have a lot of space in your house or office, that could be considered a con, but they're pretty solid printers. There's not a lot, you can't really hate on a laser printer. It's good at what it does, printing black and white documents, and they're not that expensive. I have a bunch of videos and tutorials on the Brother HL2350DW. It is an amazing printer at $120. I will put a link to some of those videos in the description for you to check out. I actually, ironically, gave that printer to my brother. It's a brother printer, but I actually gave it to my brother in real life. But I do want to show you guys this Brother HL2270DW printer that I have in front of you. It's just a standard HL series. You load the paper in the paper tray. I think it holds a half a ream. You also have a front loading mechanism where you could print on an envelope or an index card or something that you don't normally have in your paper tray, different weird size paper, different color paper. In the front here, we got our toner cartridge. I forgot to mention this, now that I think about it. A lot of the laser printers have duplex printing abilities, which means you can print on both sides of the paper by sending only one signal to the printer. So you just go into a setting, you'd say, I want to print double-sided, or I want to print on both sides, and it'll print out and then it'll suck the page back in and print on the other side, which is a really cool feature for saving paper or for documents, or if you're printing out PowerPoints in college like I did. I always use a laser printer just for efficiency and that duplex printing feature. This particular one, as you can see, does not have any scanning or copying abilities. No faxing. This is literally just a wireless printer. I can print from my Android phone, which is great. It's very flexible. I can print from any computer in the house. It is networkable, and that's something that I want and that I use in this printer. So you've learned about laser jets or laser printers, you've learned about inkjets, and now we're gonna talk about thermal printers. Probably the most specific type of printer is the thermal printer. It has such a specific purpose to where if you need something that can do a lot of different things, you'll either have to get a thermal printer and an inkjet or a laser printer, or you should just get an inkjet or laser printer if your budget doesn't allow you to get both printers. This is a thermal printer. It does not use ink. It does not use toner. It uses heat, hence the name thermal. Right here, that brown line, that's a thermal print head. That's what heats up and transmits an image with some sort of heat reaction to these labels that contain chemicals, and then it prints out the final product. Usually it's a shipping label or some sort of barcode or small text. These printers are specifically for barcodes and labeling things. And that's pretty much it. You could use it for an invoice if your invoice is formatted in 4x6, but for the most part, you're just gonna be printing shipping labels, or you would just be printing product labels. So the pros with thermal printers, they are really good at what they're good at. They are fast, they are extremely reliable. The simplicity in the design, depending on the brand of printer, there's not a ton of failure points, and they print fast, they print reliably, they do not have anything you have to replace, such as ink or toner, you just have to replace the labels. Another thing that you could say is a pro is how compact and portable they are. They don't take up a lot of counter space. If you're in a car or traveling and you're using one for some sort of traveling arbitrage business, a thermal printer is a lot easier to use in your car. So some of the cons about these printers, the limitations on what you can print. Obviously, you can only print up to about 4 inches wide, only on thermal paper. With the wider format printers, you can print up to 4 inches wide. Another con would be the price point. They're not exactly cheap. There are some models that you can find on Amazon for like $75 or $85 when they're on sale. I usually post when I see those sales up on my Instagram, so if you want to check out the College Picker Instagram, definitely check that out. I'll shout out a sale when I see one, or a coupon code, maybe get a deal that way. Normally for the branded, the like well-known printer brands like Brother and Zebra, they don't really go on sale. Once this specific one sells on Amazon, people sell them for $100 or $200 more than the retail, which is kind of insane. The price is definitely a drawback. Features, definitely a drawback. Most thermal printers are USB only. For instance, I have the Rollo thermal printer right here. This specific printer is only USB, so I have to plug this into a Mac or a PC in order to use it. And then the wireless printers are more expensive. This is the Brother QL1110 NWB. This retails for $279, but it works with iPhone, Android, You can network it to work with Mac and PC and multiple devices. And that, for some people, is what they need for their business. So that specific feature, being able to print from your phone, is something that is worth the $279. It totally depends on your business and budget. Thermal printers do come in different width. This one prints a narrower print, so address labels or Amazon SKUs, you could just get a smaller, narrower format printer. You don't need a giant 4-inch printer if you're just gonna be printing small little address labels. Buying the smaller size printer can cut your costs down for your initial purchase price. But if you're gonna be labeling products or printing shipping labels, if you're doing it at any volume, you're probably eventually going to upgrade to a thermal printer. And another con with thermal printers is they only print in black and white and grayscale. They do not print in color. You're not going to be able to print color stickers or images with them. It's pretty much only going to be black and white. There are some papers that can add some color to it, but for the most part, you're just going to be printing in black and white. I think Brother makes a color thermal printer, but the image quality isn't even that good from what I've read, and the cartridges to refill it are expensive, so it's kind of maybe not even worth it at that point. Just because these are specific to shipping labels doesn't mean you can't print shipping labels from a LaserJet or an inkjet printer. You can still print shipping labels from those printers. It's just not going to be as fast. It's not going to be as efficient. You would have to print it out on paper, tape it on, or use some sort of label paper in order to get your workflow a little bit better for shipping. Now, within the thermal printing realm, there are different brands, there are different designs, but most of them are USB only. There are a couple of models that get into wireless capabilities, printing from mobile. From my personal experience, the best mobile brand right now is Brother. They have two models that work really well with iPhone, the QL1110 NWB. This one does use a DK proprietary label, which is this black square here, and there's a sensor on this printer that reads that black square, knows the distance in between labels. Zebra is another brand that's very popular and very customizable for businesses. These use non-proprietary labels. The Mac and the iOS integration's just not there yet. I don't know if Zebra ever has any plans to integrate with iOS, but they still make good printers. They work really well on PC, and they do work on Mac. It's just, it doesn't work great on Mac. So those are the three types of printers and kind of like the technology and the overview, pros and cons of them. If you have any specific questions about them, please put them in the comments section. I will put some of my favorite recommendations in the description, along with some videos for you to check out on specific models. But I do thank everyone for watching and sticking around. If you haven't already, please give the video a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.